Hello everybody, we have a Bentley here today. I'd like to show you the full build version of my video. I think a lot of people already know this key. A lot of people remember it. So, this key, as you may remember, is not from my Audi TT, which I have, and it's a 2004. This key is from this car. It's a Bentley Continental GT, all the same year, 2004. I put this video together in its entirety. I'd like to show you. The purpose and the point of this video is this: what sells on the market for first price? I understand that the prices of these cars start to this day from 1,300,000 and infinity. Let's take the average statistic, somewhere around 1.5 million rubles. This is the segment, what you can buy for this money. In general, this is such a car. Once again, 2004. I showed you this beautiful interior, but actually, the interior really looks quite good. There was just a conversation going on about the mileage on this car, and whether the interior matches the mileage. The mileage is 175,000 kilometers. It's confirmed. The car has been serviced by a dealer for a long time. Relative to that mileage, relative to the car's performance, the car is quite normal. Let's have a look at the interior just now. The driver's seat is so dented, but again for 175,000, and if the driver was of large build, I think it is quite acceptable. And the interior actually looks not bad, but again such question is controversial. There are people to whom even some small drawbacks seem large, there is vice versa, but in general for me, I consider that quite normal interior for such year of the car and for such mileage. And how do you like the combination of colours in the interior? It seems to me that it is very interesting and quite successful. Such a scarlet interior of seats and such a purple-blue interior of everything else. And naturally, in my opinion, there are black carpets because the car is a dealer car for Russia. We rarely have cars and order cars with black carpet in the legs. Well, we also like black ceiling very much. And at one time, when there was an epic with delivery of cars to Europe, Europeans always jokingly said to me that when they ordered, especially Mercedes, please give us a Russian version. This implied a black bottom, black top. In general, well, either black on black, total black as they say now. I'm showing you a watch now. It's a Breitling. In fact, it's already making history, because they don't supply Breitling for Bentley now. So this is basically just the generation, apparently the last one, in which there was a watch from this watch manufacturer. Frankly speaking, what brand produces watches for Bentley, I cannot say. But just here will be an occasion for people who are in the subject, who is heavily immersed in the subject. Write in the comments what watch brand is now working for Bentley and what brand watches are put in Bentley. Basically, I think there will be people who will reveal to us the answer to this question. So what do we do with this Bentley? The car arrived. It is unstable. There are a lot of errors on it. Anyway, we're going to change the plugs on it. Now, a little later, the diagnostics will be, and I'll try to show you from the bottom, from the top. We're just finishing looking inside now. But to me, it's okay. It's a really nice saloon. It looks nice, and basically, what's not to like about Bentley? They have such a classic interior theme that it still looks okay to me. But in the next few days, I will give you a full review of just the Bentley GT 2022, but in any case, the continuity here is definitely obvious. And on the new body there, of course, the multimedia is different, but in general, this whole architecture of the interior, it's very similar, and you can't confuse Bentley with anything. In that sense, of course, it's very good. Very good. They, like Rolls-Royce, are trying to stick to their line somehow, even though it's vague. But, in principle, I think that for Bentley, the kinship with VAG may even be beneficial, because the cars have become more qualitative, not less cheap. In principle, I understand that nowadays, to survive, you have to cooperate, or to make more money. But, again, As far as I understand, every mass brand now has some such toy, some such old manufactory. And even Mercedes has bought Aston Martin. For Aston, I guess that's definitely a good thing, although their new DBX model is under Mercedes' leadership. But I'll tell you this, the quality of the DBX is not great, to say the least. I'll show you one too, on occasion. The car is quite interesting, but technically, there are a lot of interesting features. Exactly what should not be in such cars for such money. But let's get back to our Bentley. The steering wheel and airbag, I think, reminds a lot of people of something. Again, write what? But you don't even have to write it. Some old Audi. Very old Audis. And now, I want to open the hood and show you what's going on in there. In principle, it's not bad. But as it should look on a car that has... Let's do the maths. We're now in the year 2023. That makes it a 2004 car. It's scary to think about. Almost 20 years old. So here we have a V12 engine. The Bentley has proven to be the most reliable engine in the world because it's an 8-cylinder engine. I've shown you many times what wonders it can do, but that's again on the pre-restyling cars. Then the manufacturer has removed a lot of the faults, and that's not a bad thing. Anyway, this motor, the so-called double, is the most normal thing Bentley has. And look, actually, the age and these yellow tanks from VAG. It's such a classic on these cars. But basically, the car's not bad on the road. Under 600 forces, no matter how old it is, it drives quite briskly. As a rule, the front radiators are knocked off by stones. These are radiators of conditioner. The price of a question, 50,000 rubles plus. There is no point in buying Chinese. It will cost a little cheaper. There is no quality at all. And especially cooling radiators, better not buy Chinese. Because very poor quality. In general, the double glazing is very often relaxed on them. What happened to the lock in the door is also unclear. But these blacked out mirror panes have also started to yellow. But it's all a temporary sore spot. It's the same in the Maserati. By the way, on Maserati, as I have already told, here is such a mirror element costs €1,000 one with darkening. I can't say from the knee how much it costs on Bentley, but it seems to me that it is a little cheaper. The rear window is fine, by the way, because they often have problems with it starting to loosen up too. Bubbles appearing. But it's not just with Bentley, most likely, but with other cars where there's age, where there's apparently this one from the manufacturer. Although it may not depend on the manufacturer. But in general, the bodywork is fairly straight. All the glass is native. Well, naturally, there will be problems with chrome. Although in general, again, I will repeat, despite the age, the car looks quite vivacious. But again, if you buy such a Bentley for 1.5 million rubles, if you are not a sadomasochist, it is better to change the original filters. Pour good oil and drive until this car stops. Because if you decide to bring this car to the ideal, then I think that you 1.5 million rubles, if you still add to this budget, most likely will not be enough to revitalize it, because it is simply impossible. Note the 2004 windshield. That's not bad. Now we're going to try and change the plugs. This is what the whole process looks like. We've got 12 plugs here. Each candle in the current trend of prices will cost somewhere around 3,000 rubles per piece. Accordingly, multiplied by 12, we get 36,000 rubles. I see at once that this is Chinese. This gasket is put when replacing the candles. It is disposable, but the original will cost 1,500 rubles. Let's see what kind of filters we have. I can already see from afar that it is again Chinese and of very poor quality. You see what happens? All the glue leaks into the airflow sensor and further into the engine. That's for fans of the non-original. I don't understand why you would buy a Bentley for that kind of money. If you bought some vital stuff, you have to buy original. The man who bought the car is doing that now. I think we'll change everything to original, but again, it's not agreed. Only the plugs have been agreed so far, but you can see everything is as it should be. The Chinese don't forget to put Bentley lettering on it, but you see here is just such a price segment of the car that people want to look more expensive and spend less money on it. I don't have the words to comment on that. And frankly, on older cars, it's almost universal. There are exceptions, of course, and these are the exceptions I'm trying to show you. Well, this is just the sort of everyday story, the everyday version. But what we have under the hood, basically, we've already seen everything. There's good old dirt and dust. Although on the whole, there doesn't seem to be any sweat. That's not bad either, because, you know, it's an engine like this that needs tidying up, but it's going to be very expensive. But I think that still, apart from bloggers, hardly anyone buys such cars now. Because judging by the ads in the same Avito, they stand for years and years. So it's an asset, but very, very doubtful. In general, this is what the coils look like. Coils are also, by the way, a consumable. You can try to buy more Chinese Bosch, most likely will not last long. People, I very much respect all opinions, but these stories that Chinese plugs work well, Chinese coils work well, exactly they work badly, because I see all this stuff every single day. Well, let's see what's underneath here, but I'll show you right off the bat that the brake discs need to be changed. Brake discs are such an individual issue too. Original brake discs will cost somewhere now, probably rubles thousand, to be exact, 60 per piece. The Chinese will ask for them most likely thousands of 40. In general, in principle, you understand yourself buy for 40 will go for 40. Buy there for 50 for 60, by the way, is not a big difference, right? So it will last longer. Brake pads front, also somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 original. You can buy non-original ones for 3,000 rubles. As far as they fulfill their function, I do not know. But there is put 8. Again, there will be a lot of comments that ATE can be bought for cheap. People for 3,000 rubles original ATE does not exist. These intercooler radiators are also very often hit by stones. Here we have such an interesting device. To be honest, I can't even say at once what it is. What could it be, by the way? Just a quick question. And, by the way, people write comments from time to time when I ask you what it is, why I don't know it. Look, well, first of all, I'm not Google, and secondly, I'm not a mechanic myself. I administer the whole thing, so it's simply impossible to know everything. This button here, by the way, also costs money. It's a button to open the hood. They do go out of order from time to time. Well, against the Bentley, it's not a particularly expensive part. It is difficult to say now by memory, but if someone needs, right, I will answer you. This one here is also a frequently lost part. The individual Bs are not cheap. There they are sold in sets of 4. I think they cost in the neighborhood of 100 euros original. But when the disc is more complex, there is a plate. In it, you put this letter B. That's expensive. Each plate will cost 250 euros plus the letter. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Naturally, it's a pneumatic cylinder, but it's got some bad marks on it. What could that mean? Either some human hand at some garage service tried to fix something. Either it's so rusted up that it looks like some kind of scale, or something welded on. But again, we'll see a little later. I have a feeling that no video is going to be about this car. Still, it's time to get underneath the car and let's see what's going on there. Let's start, by the way, with the rear brake discs. Just like the front ones, they need to be changed. They're from Audi, by the way. You can afford the original. Before the whole price craze, the original discs cost 15,000 rubles in the Bentley box. In the VAG box, they cost 12,000 rubles. I am trying to understand what is with chrome and where the lock latch, but apparently no one will know about it, and it is not worth to find out about it. But the idea of this video is that before you buy such a car, you should soberly evaluate the situation. And if you think that you will buy, drive a month or two, and God willing nothing will happen to the car, you will sell it for the same money. But this is very, very doubtful. Most likely, you will not sell it for the same money unless you bought it very cheap. But if there are any more problems with body parts, it will cost even more than all this maintenance. So my advice is, from the heart, do not buy cars at the first price of the market. Well, and in general, when you buy an old car, no matter Bentley, Maserati or Ferrari, you still need to think, to study the issue, and study the question really specifically and really well. Some friends bought a Lamborghini Murcielago not so long ago. My namesake is there. He is quite a well-known person in the world of bloggers. He has a channel called Le Garage, and he's restoring this Lamborghini right now. He came to see me the other day. He bought a lever from me. He and I have been talking about it for a while. The hardest thing to restore is an old Lamborghini. It's really very expensive. A Bentley looks childish against that background. There are quite a lot of used Bentley parts. In principle, you can come up with something. But if that's how you literally approach the matter, it's probably more likely to be an unnecessary activity that will undermine your budget, undermine your nerves. But, again, I am not the truth in the last instance. In general, you see what is Bentley cheap. But in this situation, on the whole, it's not a bad option, this particular one, but it's probably the exception. So if you want to find something like this, you've got to have a lot of nerve, a lot of money, a lot of time. Because you'll be looking at a lot of these cars. And 95% will be in a very depressing condition. So this option in principle is quite good. Well, I think that's all for today. Subscribe to my channel, put likes if there will be any questions, write, do not hesitate, about diagnostics, service, also write, I will try to answer. Well, and remember, the miser pays not twice, the miser pays always. Bye everyone!